Howdy YouTube, a little bit of a different review for you today. We're taking a look at the Jakks WWE Draft Chris Jericho and the Mattel Chris Jericho. I really wanted to do this review just to compare the differences in figures. I've got an R3 Y2J figure on the left, of course, and a Chris Jericho from last year. Basically, there's a lot of people out there that have, expressed on forums and things like that, whether Jakks figures will fit in with Mattel figures or how good the comparison is. So hopefully this review will help you guys with that. In terms of packaging, I think the Jakks is significantly nicer. The Mattel, obviously, being a later Chris Jericho, is a much sleeker style packaging, which is pretty cool. Nice shot of Jericho there. One thing I think is interesting is for whatever reason they can't do the tattoo on the arm that Chris Jericho's got at the moment. I'm not sure why, they couldn't just put something there, but still kind of a cool looking figure. I'm a big fan of the attire that he's wearing. I think it's a great color scheme. And then, of course, we've got, this is the Chris Jericho I grew up watching on the left. Really big fan of this guy. I don't actually remember him being drafted to Smackdown. I remember when they first did the brand split and the draft, they announced like the first 10 or 20 on TV, and then the rest, I think it might have been the first 10. The rest were all like online exclusives, but really cool looking figure. I'm very excited to get it opened up and out of packaging, and hopefully give you guys a cool review. And taking a look on the back with the Mattel, of course, we've got the same shot as the front of Chris Jericho. Other figures in the set, of course, Dolph Ziggler, Vicky Guerrero, Sheamus, The Miz, and Kofi Kingston. Not the greatest lineup, but certainly not a bad one either. And then we look at basically just after the Attitude Era, where you've got a really great talent roster. The Rock, of course, really cool figure, really great from the 2000, really from 2000 to 2003. I think The Rock was just incredible. Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit, Hollywood Hulk Hogan, Billy and Chuck, Edge, Rikishi, Devon, Mark Henry, Maven. That's takes me back. Billy Kidman, Tajiri, Y2J, of course, Ivory, Albert, the Hurricane, Al Snow, Lance Storm, DDP, and Tori Wilson. So that's a pretty solid SmackDown roster. Like you would be over the moon if half those guys were wrestling now. Of course, obviously, they did have the Raw draft as well, which had like The Undertaker, NWO, and that sort of stuff. But really cool, very excited to get them opened up. Okay, and here we have both figures opened up and out of packaging. I'll start quickly by taking a look at the draft Chris Jericho. He does come, of course, with this card, I guess. The Smackdown contract. Kind of a cool accessory. I don't mind it, actually. The signature is the same as the later one, so that's good to know. Lucky 13 for Y2J. Limited to 11,250 figures. It sounds like a lot, but when you think globally, it's probably not that much at all. So that's kind of cool, and he also comes with this draft display stand, which I think is kind of cool. You don't get figure display stands anymore, so it's nice that this came with that. Absolutely love SmackDown. Probably my favorite show. I think it is, certainly not now, but at the time was better than Raw. I mean, Raw was amazing too. I love, absolute sucker for 2002, 3, and 4 Raw and SmackDown. I think they're fantastic. But just in general, like every SmackDown, all the SmackDown episodes from 2005. From 1999 to 2005, I think are all like just amazing episodes. So that's kind of a really cool accessory. So in terms of height, you can see that the R3 Jakks is pretty much exactly the same as the Mattel. Identical height, which is really awesome. Head size is pretty close as well. Body, everything. I think it's actually a really good matchup. So that's very cool. We'll start by taking a look at the Mattel Chris Jericho. Now, this isn't, I think, the best Chris Jericho head that they've ever released. They did do one recently with a more updated face sculpt, and I think they did a much better job on that one. But there's still lots of nice detail. I mean, they've got the colouring on their hair. Really nice. But just something about the smile. I'm not sure. It just looks slightly off, at least to me. And then moving down, of course, I love the purple, blue, and black color scheme for the tights. I think that's really cool. Y2J 2013. The only problem with him doing that is that when you pick up this figure in 2014, it's already out of date, which becomes a little bit annoying. But yeah, pretty awesome. In terms of articulation, he has got a lot more than the Jakks. He's got a ball-jointed head. He's got ball-jointed arms, swivel in the bicep, bend at the elbow, swivel wrist, swivel waist, although this is rock solid, so not on him. Swivel in the legs, bend at the knee, swivel in the boot, and then swivel in the ankle. So your standard range of basic Mattel articulation, which is still pretty cool. And next up, we've got probably my favorite of the two Chris Jerichos, and one of my favorite Chris Jericho figures of all time, and that is the Smackdown Draft Chris Jericho. Absolutely love the face scan on this guy. I think it's all the Jakks R3 figures. They really nailed the face. The big promotion I remember at the time was, the real face scan and everything like that. And they did a great job. Like the texturing on the hair and everything, I think is just as good as it is on a lot of the other more modern figures that we've gotten. I also really prefer this era Chris Jericho to the modern one. Moving down, of course, he's got pretty much the same body or same torso as 90% of the other Jakks R3 figures. Kind of a cool attire. My favourite Chris Jericho attire ever is the one that he wore, I believe it was at the Invasion pay-per-view in 2001, where he's got like he did it with red but also with purple, and it's got like the barbed wire all through it. That looked really, really cool. Jericho on the side of the boots. Now, in terms of articulation, he's got a ball-jointed head, ball-jointed arms, swivel in the elbow, swivel in the wrist, swivel in the waist,